Hey guys, it's Brian at SMU Designs, and today I'm going to show you how to build this LED sign for under $10. And here's how. Okay, so full disclosure, I did have some tools already purchased for this job. A couple things you'll need is a table saw. You'll need an acrylic blade to cut acrylic. You'll also need a sandblaster or somebody that has a sandblaster. And you'll also need just a couple other odds and ends, maybe like a chop saw or even a hand saw would work to cut this wood. So with the equipment already purchased, also a vinyl, a vinyl cutter as well. So if you already have this equipment purchased, or if you have access to it, you really can build this for under $10. And I'll show you how. This makes a great gift. I actually gave this particular one to my brother-in-law for Christmas this year. So it's a great idea. You know, if you have somebody that's starting a business, or if you're just trying to look for a gift that's pretty cheap. Also, you will actually have to spend more than $10 to get this, but the way it breaks down is you'll actually only use a portion of each particular piece of material that you buy. So technically, with all the material you buy, you can build about 4 of these signs. So if you sell them for maybe 50 bucks, you know, 100 bucks, you can easily make your money back. And it makes great gifts. Like I said, it makes great promotional items for businesses. You can actually market these to companies as a storefront sign to kind of attract customers that may be walking by. It's a really cool idea. So let's get it going, and I'll show you exactly step by step the cost breakdown of each individual piece and how much you'll fully spend and how much you'll spend for one particular sign. Alright, so what I'm doing here is I'm actually cutting this piece of pine board I picked up at Lowe's for $7.38. It is item number 9101 at Lowe's. I'll flash a little thumbnail up here too. But basically, it is a 12-inch by 3-foot board, 3 feet long, that I cut down to 12 inches by 9 inches, 9-inch sections, which makes 4 sections in total. So that roughly is about $2 per board. And I actually used a router, as you can see. It's not shown in the video, but I used a router to kind of give it a nice little edge. That part is totally optional. Then here I put it on the table saw, and I made some notches on the top there for the acrylic piece to sit in, and then on the bottom for the wire to run. And that little hole that I just drilled is for the wire to come down. And then here I just kind of scored the side of the grooves, just to kind of get all the bird wood edges off, and kind of clean it up a little bit and get ready for staining and doing the rest of the construction on that piece.
Okay, so what you want to get is one of these AC adapters, but you want to check and make sure that the output is 12 volt. 12 to 14 volts should be fine, but 12 volt is ideal. It should come with a little plug like this in the back of it, but that doesn't matter. You'll actually take that off, cut it, and then solder these wires. Also, make sure you do have a positive and negative side. On this particular cord, there is some writing on one of these and then a solid strip on the other side. I don't know if you can tell, but the positive side is the one without the writing. And you can check that by cutting the end off and splicing with a multimeter and checking your voltage plugged into the wall. But be very careful not to shock yourself. So we're going to go ahead and cut the end off of this. You can cut it as close as you want to the end of that little connector, because we're not going to need that. That's trash. So then that'll leave you with two individually wrapped strands, individually insulated strands. Then you can actually take and cut it again to separate it, but we're going to wait. So for now, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and run this up through the bottom like this, and that's going to be where we connect our LED strip. So if you can see, it'll kind of look like that. And then on the bottom side, whenever we're done, we're going to take this wire and we're going to run it through this other groove that we cut. And then we'll take some hot glue and kind of just press it down like this and make it flush. Be careful not to cut through the wires. But we'll get some hot glue and kind of cover that up beside them. It is windy outside today.
Alright, now we're actually going to cut this little cord around here. This is going to be the kind of the base that holds the acrylic sign into the wood. You can see there I spent about $3 and some change on an 8-foot section, but we're only going to need about 10 inches or so per section. So you really can get probably 4 out of one section. You can get 4 signs done with one section of this this wood from Lowe's. Now this should go without saying, but you really want to be careful whenever you're using a chop saw. Obviously this is a pretty dangerous tool here, so if you do have one, please be careful, wear the right protective gear. Alright, now this part we're actually going to mount the little trim pieces to the base here. You can actually use a nailer like I use here. This is a cheap little brad nailer from Harbor Freight Tools. You can use actual nails with a hammer. You can really even use wood glue if you wanted to. This way in particular I find to be the easiest. It's a good idea for this next part to leave the clear sheeting, the little cover over this acrylic here, just so you don't scratch anything whenever you're mocking this up to finish up putting the little base holder in. This next part I'm not going to take into consideration for the cost of the project. This is just some stain I had laying around. You can use spray paint, you can use regular paint, you can use stain, you can actually leave it raw. So this part I'm just going to leave out of the cost.
Here's what we're going to use to light these things up. This is just a generic little roll of 12 volt LEDs, similar to like what you would find on, I don't know, maybe doing some backlighting for a TV, or maybe some under cabinet lighting, or even some lighting effects on a motorcycle or a car. So they're pretty cheap. You can get them online for maybe 10 bucks a roll. This I think is 10 meters, which is roughly 6 feet, I believe, 7 feet, something like that. And conveniently enough, this is a brand new roll, so I have a little lead already off of here. So what I can do is grab this little 9-volt battery here and give you a little show of kind of what they'll look like. Be careful when you guys are testing at home. So there's your green LEDs. That's kind of what they're going to look like underneath, if you can tell. So it's pretty cool. We're going to go ahead and cut this to length and go ahead and get it started. Also, if you notice, if you've never dealt with these LEDs before, you see you can only cut every third LED. So you got 1, 2, 3, then you can cut, and these are actually solder points. So you can solder on 2 different leads. So whenever you're going to cut these things, make sure you're cutting across those those 4 little leads there, so you can resolder them and use them later on. If you cut in the middle, say you cut in between those 2, it'll actually kill the whole strip, and it won't work. So these 3 would work, but then these 2 would not if you were to cut in the middle. So just make sure you cut it. There's a little scissor line right there, you can see. Alright, so what I'm doing here is I'm actually going to run this power cord up through the bottom of the base. Then I'm going to cut and splice the wires and connect them to the LED strip. I like to use solder. Now, of course, you can always use a butt connector if you need, but that kind of, doesn't really look as good and it's not as reliable. And it also isn't going to let you hide the wire underneath the base, so it'll still sit flush. So realistically, what you want to do is solder the wires and then get a little bit of heat shrink like I just cut there, and slip it over the little end of the wire. Go ahead and solder them, and then slip that heat shrink back over to give it a secure connection.
Again, that's all kind of up to you and the tools you have at your exposure. Alright, so I've got all my wires soldered up there, got the heat shrink on. What I'm doing is just taking a little bit of hot glue there and running it down the channel that I cut earlier in that base. And then just kind of tucking the wires in and securing it to the hot glue there. And that's going to keep the wires down and flush and level with that base. Alright, so now we're taking our acrylic sheet that we got. It is a 18-inch by 24-inch clear acrylic sheet with a 0.22-inch gauge or thickness from Lowe's. We spent $25 on the sheet, but as you can see here, I've taken the acrylic cutting tool and I've split it into sections, 4 sections, each being about 12 inches by 9 inches, so we can get four images, 4 plates out of this one sheet of acrylic. So now I've got my decal cut. And you can see I took the negative and put it on the back side of the glass, or excuse me, the acrylic. Alright, we got everything all cut out with the decal. We got it laid onto the acrylic sheet. Now let's take it out to the sandblaster and go ahead and get this thing etched. And now what I'm going to do is tape everything off very well, because you don't want any overblast or overspray or anything from the sandblaster to etch any part of the glass that doesn't need to be lit up. Alright, so we just did a light blasting there. It wasn't anything too aggressive with a big nozzle, not a fine point nozzle, just to kind of etch the glass. And then now we're just pulling away all the old vinyl. And then once we're done with that, we're going to take it to the sink and we're going to go ahead and kind of clean it up and get all the adhesive residue off. Maybe take some alcohol and get it all cleaned up. And there you have it. That's it. We spent $11.52 total on just this one sign. Obviously, we spent a little bit more in total for everything. But you know, if you take one of these and sell it for 75 bucks to a company that may want it for a storefront or whatever, sell it to a friend, sell it to anybody that wants a logo for a man cave or anything like that. You know, you can really make some money off this. You know, for less than $100 investment, you know, you can really make some money on these things. But anyway, I hope you found this video to be pretty cool. I thought it was. You know, these things are really neat. I enjoy making them. I've made 3 or 4 at this point. So, and I'll continue to make them too. Leave a comment down in the section below. Let me know what you think. If you've done them any different ways, let me know. Leave a like on this video. Give it a thumbs up. And always, I appreciate everybody in their comments. We'll be trying to push some more content out more often in 2019. We've upgraded some equipment. So we're excited to bring you some more newer things and to show you what we got going on in 2019. Hope everybody have a Merry Christmas and have a great New Year, and we'll see you on the next one.